We're not making good drivers in the United States. We're not enforcing laws that are important for efficiency and safety. And we do have some trouble with roadways and our infrastructure. What's up, guys? Let's talk about SUVs and why they are so popular in the United States. Over the last 10 years plus, SUVs have really taken over for the family wagon across the board as to why. And you always hear the reasons why people enjoy them or think they're safer and exciting, but I want to give you kind of a main theme thesis statement, and then let's talk about it. The popularity of SUVs in the United States has largely to do and is a product of our crumbling infrastructure in this country, as well as the deterioration of the educated driver and good drivers in America, as a statement. Basically, SUVs are popular because our roads are falling apart and our drivers are terrible. Now, I know you guys want to comment. Save it. Let's work through this together. The first biggest reason I've heard perfectly normal people wanting to get big SUVs. We're talking the soccer moms, the families, the little families, older people, things like this. Just perfectly respectful, normal people. The reason they want an SUV is they feel safer. Why do they feel safer, you ask? Because the fact of the matter is an SUV is more prone to rolling or flipping over than a car in terms of center of gravity. But the reason they feel safer is it's big. So they feel if they're going to get into a crash or a crash with a car, that their big inertia and being up high will, obliterate the other person that they're getting in a wreck with. Or if they get hit, if they have more inertia, they're more likely to be safe. That's the thought process. And we can talk about that until we're the blue in the face, but that's what people think. They also think if they're up high, they have a better chance. Which in a way is sad because you might have this whole family driven by a soccer mom. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just mean that in as, a suburban mother driving this car. And somehow there's an accident. Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe somebody wrecked or whatever. But there's, a young person just in high school or just going to college for the first time in a tiny car that they get in a wreck with, and it just creams them. It's kind of sad. So it's kind of sad that in safety-wise, we're starting to think of that. The other aspect is, if somebody crosses a center lane and hits you, if there's DUIs, if somebody's under the influence of a drug or alcohol, that's another reason why they're concerned about these wrecks. Or distracted drivers, texting, emails, social. I mean, you all know how many people are on their phones and distracted driving nowadays. So a huge aspect of this is that people just want to feel safer. The other thing about SUVs is they're up high. And when you're up high, you can see better out. And you can see over top of cars. So if you see an SUV tailgating you and you're in a car, the chances are they can see over you and they feel safer. Even though, if they're not paying attention, there's a good chance they're just going to run right in the back of you. Because when I'm driving a sports car or a low car, I can't see through the SUV. So it actually becomes more dangerous for me because especially if they're like a left lane hog or something, and just everybody's plugging up traffic, I can't see past. And then if you're following, you don't want to follow closely, but then you got all these other people trying to cut you off and come in and everybody's getting aggressive because of poor lane discipline and bad highway driving and education, it becomes more dangerous for people in lower cars. It flat out does. So that's something that exacerbates the problem because not only do people buy an SUV to feel safer, generally because of poor driving, to see, they in turn make a situation more dangerous for people in normal cars or lower vehicles. And those people are then going to find a new reason to want to be up higher. So it's like trying to muscle up. And then the next one is, cars are expensive nowadays. All vehicles are. They are absurdly expensive. Older people talk about the good old days in the 50s and 60s. Well, they were good old days because cars and houses, compared to all the other costs and goods and incomes, were way cheaper than they are now by comparison. So life is more difficult nowadays. And cars are very expensive. So if you buy an actual car or something lower, a sports car, it's going to get hammered by the roads out there, especially if you're up in the northern United States where there's a lot of freezing and thawing from winter and obliteration of roadways and traffic construction. Or if you're just in a place that frankly don't have a lot of tax money or isn't being run well with their politicians and their leadership and bad roads. And that trashes cars. In Toledo, horrible roads. Just destroyed a wheel. I know a guy that drives this all-wheel drive car all year, and they destroy wheels. I know a buddy whose BMW, no joke, got totaled from a pothole in Toledo, Ohio. Totaled. It was so deep, it busted his oil pan, destroyed the motor, and ended up totaling the car. But if he had an SUV, that probably wouldn't happen. At worst, he might have gotten a cut tire or something like that because of the ride height. So truthfully, a reason that people love SUVs and trucks is because our roads are getting worse. And you're not going to get all those stone chips. You're not going to get hammered, you know? And if it's reasonably easy to get in and out of the car, you can see out and you can avoid these potholes and things. And even if you have to roll over them, you got more suspension travel, bigger tires, and you don't feel it as much. And you can, as a driver, can be more comfortable in that scenario. So yeah, crumbling roadways and bad roadways across American infrastructure has a huge amount to do with the advent of more trucks and motorcycles. Because in a car, it becomes much more edgy and risky in that. It just does. And a lot of people say, well, I want an all-wheel drive car in case I get stuck in the snow or bad conditions. Well, you know, frankly, even in Ohio where it snows, it doesn't snow that much a year. Okay, I know. If you're in Cleveland, you have lake effect snow, and there's plenty of places that is like an abominable frozen wasteland a lot of the year. But what I'm going to say is, if you have a car with good actual winter tires, whether it's front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, or rear-wheel drive, good winter tires are what's really going to get you through. And rarely does snow get so deep that you actually need ride heights to get beyond what a car can do with great snow tires. And when it's that deep, it's rare because it just like had a blizzard, or you're already at a level 2 or 3 snow emergency and you're probably not allowed to drive anyway. Just being honest. When I have had SUVs or tall vehicles, there were like practically no circumstances where I needed to get out of a jam. And usually when there was things that were I needed to get out of jam, it's because I put myself in that position because I had a vehicle to do it. I only remember one time pulling a buddy out of that got stuck because he had summer tires on with an SUV in the snow. So just think about that. You can do perfectly well year-round with a car that has snow tires. Now, you may say, well, Casey, it's just people's taste. That's the change of the times and the culture and the world, and with more traffic and more dangerous drivers and things like that, that's why people want SUVs. And that's a fairly reasonable thing to say. But truthfully, SUVs in many ways are more expensive to own. If all things were equal with the cost of the actual vehicle compared to a car is going to get better fuel mileage just because it has a lower coefficient of drag through the air, which has a massive amount to do with fuel consumption, efficiency. A car also is going to be sportier to drive, more, quite frankly, more fun, more connected for people that like that sort of thing. Maybe people would enjoy driving again. And SUVs, to be big like that, have to be heavy. And that takes energy and fuel to push it around. A lot of it. And frankly, they are expensive to build and expensive to maintain. They just are. So those things are sad because truly, when you analyze all the reasons people want SUVs that have to do with safety, comfort, and reliability and making it through snow and bad roadways, it really does come down to we have deteriorating infrastructure in America, deteriorating roadways, and our drivers are becoming less and less educated and less safe. Which I made the video recently on left lane hogs, which the mass amount of the populace completely agreed with. People are not driving in a way that is respectful of the law, the flow of traffic, and their fellow motorists. And these left lane hogs are either oblivious people or they're kind of rocking an SJW mentality of like, you shouldn't be speeding and I'm going to drive here. Well, it's illegal to sit in the left lane like that. Get over. It's not your business if somebody's going slightly faster or whatnot. You drive and be safe and allow the roadways to flow. It's a tough thing, and there's many reasons for that, and not just people like that. I'm not picking on left lane hogs, although they really are annoying and jamming up our highways and roadways. And that also has to do with things not being enforced. Our training in America, a driver's ed course is woefully easy and simple. If you live in a small town, they might not, driving tests, my driving test that I took, we didn't have to drive on a highway. We drove in this tiny little residential area, barely did anything. They just see if I could parallel park in some cones. That doesn't make you a good driver at all. It doesn't. We're not making good drivers in the United States. We're not enforcing laws that are important for efficiency and safety. And we do have some trouble with roadways and our infrastructure. So I would simply impart this, because this is something I've told to my students when writing a paper. I don't have the power to change all this, and neither do you. And frankly, our politicians right now are more interested with trying to destroy each other to get power than they are making this country and world a better place by uniting as, Americans. It's true. Politics suck right now. But all of us that are watching this and talking, we can do something to make our roadways safer and better. And that's simply be a better driver. Look out, pay attention, get out of the left lane, you know what I mean? Get off the phone, make good choices if you're at a party, and make it safer. And maybe if enough of us become better drivers on our own, we can be good examples to others and make our roadways safer and better so people can start driving a little bit more fun, far more efficient cars, and not have to spend so much money in insurance, upkeep, and buying giant war vehicles so people think they're safe. We really would be better off. We'd use less energy, we'd have to spend less money, and that we could, use in the pursuit of happiness or exploration or learning or creation or art or any of those good things in life that I feel like we don't get to do as much anymore. And maybe if we all start doing things better, we'll be a good example for our idiot politicians that just want to seize power, and they'll calm down. Or we'll just, have to start doing it better ourselves. Oh my goodness. Also, can we not make this a big political thing down in the comments? I was being completely impartial across the board and saying that right now. This video does not have to do with one side or the other. Can we please do that? So let's all be smart, be safe out there for everybody else. I understand why SUVs are proliferating, and I think maybe you all are thinking about that now too. SUVs are not my favorite thing in the world. I've had a couple. They do have their value to a lot of people. Maybe you do have to deal with big snow. Maybe you do have to go off-road. Maybe you want a car, but occasionally you have to tow something like jet skis, motorcycles, or a classic car, but you don't want a truck, and an SUV makes sense. And that's totally cool. That's the same kind of reason I would have one. So totally makes sense, but I just don't think SUVs are the best thing in the world. And I think the fact that there are so many of them right now shows some underlying large-scale problems in the United States, in America right now. And I kind of just wanted to bring this up as a topic of discussion. But in the meantime, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this gives you good food for thought for the future, and that, of course, you will like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.